Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the glorious Republic of Swordland. Let us check what is new with this. Commerce is in an all-time high. That sounds good. State-of-the-art aircraft carrier. That sounds amazing. Yosef, you're doing great jobs. Great job. Okay, the maroon train slowly started to move. The train had been in service for many years. It had 9 locomotives with special quarters and an office. 9 locomotives? I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and either. I guess it could be one of those hybrid electric trains that the normal carriages are also locomotives. But I'm not sure that's what they. Either the devs don't know what a locomotive is, or this is a huge fucking train. Okay, I'm gonna. I'm pretty sure those aren't called locomotives, but I'm gonna assume this is like a metro liner style of train where the carriage is also the train car is also the propulsion unit. Uh, okay, I'm gonna stop talking about trains because most of you will probably not even care. 9 locomotives with special quarters and an office, and as the name implied, it was painted bright maroon. Among camera flashes and cheers, we departed from the Whole Sword Central train station. Our destination was Perla, the capital of Lesbia, the historic route we were using, also called the Southern Express. We passed through the Lesbian mountain range to the lowlands with a short stop at the beautiful Suzerain, where lesbian security forces join us. Looking outside the window, the difference in wealth between Valgan and Suzerain was extraordinary. I heard a knock on the door to my office and on the train, and Simon entered. Mr. President. Simon, have a seat. He sat down on a chair in front of my desk. I wanted to have a quick chat about Prime Minister Alvarez and give you a heads up. There have been some rumors about his demeanor in public appearances. Go on. He is known to have met with other state leaders while intoxicated on various occasions. Some even call him an alcoholic. Is this something that could affect a trade deal? Honestly, I don't know. He handed me a newspaper. The headline was circling over Stalwart. This happened just yesterday. Apparently, he was so drunk that he couldn't get off the plane on a diplomatic visit. Ouch. After this incident, some say he isn't fit to serve, but I don't believe that at all. And why is that? Although his presidency is riddled with these kinds of incidents, I also heard that he is a shrewd man. Now I am worried. Thanks for giving me a heads up. I'm sure we will be fine, Mr. President. We're almost at Perla. I will return to my cabin now. Oh, very well. A few minutes later, with a long whistle, our train came to a stop. I waved to the crowd from the window. The crowds of reporters that flocked over were pushed away by the lesbian security guards. We made our way to our cars, and the convoy began its short trip to the Yellow House. The Yellow House was situated at the very center of Perla, in the middle of a circular park that was off limits to regular citizens. The park was full of roses on small patches. The convoy came to a stop, and I made my way to the entrance. The assistants directed me to a room to wait for Prime Minister Alvarez. I sat in the exquisite room and looked up at the golden chandeliers. After 10 minutes, there was still no sign of Prime Minister Alvarez. Very fucking rude. It was almost time for our meeting. My chair started to feel uncomfortable. I stood up and walked around to look at the various items in the room. A beautiful golden teapot piqued my interest. I started inspecting the teapot. While I was touching it, the handle broke off. Fuck. I looked around. Thankfully, no one was in the room. Leave the broken handle next to the teapot. I left, I left the broken handle next to the teapot. The door opened and Patricio Alvarez entered. Although I knew that he was one of the youngest state leaders in the world, I was still surprised at how boyish he looked. At his age, he was leading one of the strongest countries in Eastern Merkova. He was holding his head like he had a headache and he was stumbling. Upon seeing me, he immediately composed himself. We shook hands. He gestured towards the two couches and we sat down face to face. President Rain, welcome to Perlo. Have a seat. Thank you. It's good to be here, Mr. Alvarez. I hope you had a nice trip. I smelled a strong odor of alcohol. Not saying anything. Let's begin then. So, you are here for the trade deal. What was it about again? Can you remind me? I want to provide Swordfish wheat in return for lesbian capital. Ah, yes, right. Sorry, I've just been very busy lately. You know, being president makes you pretty busy. So I don't have any issues with this deal. I think this deal will contribute nicely to the relationship between Lesbia and Sordland. Despite a lack of ideological alignments, I will sign the executive order. That is excellent news. For some reason, the text seems a bit slow. I'm glad we're on the same page. He looked at the clock. I'm afraid I have to leave now to attend to other matters. Thank you for your visit. Okay. Thank you for having me. I'm not gonna push it to an alliance. Have a good day, Mr. Rain. On his way to the door, he suddenly turned around. Before I forget, you owe me a teapot. Shrewd indeed. He smiled and left the room. Motherfucker, even drunk off his face, he still noticed the fucking teapot. Okay, what next? Private meeting with Petter. It was dark, chilly evening when Petter called and asked if we could meet. He gave no details. All he said was that it was important. I drove alone through Holsworth suburbs until I reached the meeting point he named, 147 Ruick Avenue, number 26, our old campaign headquarters, untouched since the night of the election. This was where everything began. I made my way up the dusty staircase of the office building. The light of the second floor hallway was out, so I used a cigarette lighter to find my way to the wooden door marked 26. I pulled on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The heavy door had always been a pain to open. Coming. Petter pushed on the door with all his weight. It made a screeching sound as it opened. Without further ado, I bid you welcome to this grand nostalgia trip, hosted by yours truly, Petter Vector. He made an exaggerated bow. The dust from the open door was still settling down. Feeling sentimental yet? I remember it as being much cleaner. That's what time does to things, my friend. You're looking at a little shabbier yourself than you did back then. Come over here, remember this? He walked over to his old desk and pointed to the gramophone that had annoyed our neighbors and kept us company for so many late nights. Ryder flipped the switch and it filled the room with swing music from the 20s. I'll be damned, it still works. Are you going to tell me why we're here? In a bit. He put his hands under the desk and brought a bottle out. He took a swig out of it and passed the bottle to me. Are there any glasses? Bella's life is pampering you too much. Just drink from the bottle like the old days. Remember where we come from. Ryder snapped his fingers to the music while going through the items in the room. They looked virtually unchanged since election night. Come on, have a look around. See if it doesn't bring back memories. I walked over to my old desk, sat down on the squeaky chair, and opened the top drawer. Inside there were a few old coins, pencils, and sheets of paper. Underneath them, something caught my eye. It was a photograph of me and Monica sitting under a tree. This must have been 10, maybe 15 years ago. We looked so young and so happy. Monica would love to see this. Nice find. Look at baby Anton. You didn't even have your iconic look. Sure, take the photograph. I took the photograph and slid it into my jacket pocket. For some reason the game is a bit laggy. I walked over to the tower of storage boxes and opened one of them. In one of the storage boxes, I found a heavy object wrapped safely. I unwrapped it. It was an emerald-colored statue of a goat, the symbol of Sorland. I remembered that this was a gift from Brenda, one of the 50 free election campaign assistants. It would look good on my desk in the palace. Brenda, always sucking up to you, and where did it get her? Seriously, where? I have no idea where she ended up. Sure, let's put the statue on the desk. I lifted the storage box with the statue in it, and I put it near the door so I could take it on the way out. I made my way to the gramophone and started flipping through the records next to it. I found one of my favorite albums ever, Mountains by Janet Gers, a set of plaintive folk songs that made me yearn for the countryside whenever I heard it. What a classic. You should mail that to Frank so he can learn what real music is. Sure, let's take all the sentimental shit. I pulled the record out, put it under my arm, and placed it next to the door. Enough going through old stuff. Let's talk. Yes, all in good time. He gestured to the bottle he had in his hand. Sure, let's drink, why not? Took a swig out of it before passing it back to Petter. He took a very big gulp out of the bottle and staggered to the side afterwards. I know you, Petter. What are you hiding? Nothing. Let's go up to the roof. The view has always been amazing from there. We went up to the stairs to the roof. The view was mesmerizing. The buildings of all sorts twinkled below us, where the stars shone bright in the sky. We sat and leaned back against the wall, taking it all in. Right as I was starting to get up, I heard a sobbing sound. I turned to Petter and saw tears streaming down his cheeks. What's wrong? He wiped the tears away. Messed up, Danton. I messed up big time. Evelyn's leaving me. She wants a divorce. I'm not surprised. No, I guess you shouldn't be. I've been sleeping with Livia Suno, the spy, yes. You've been what? I know she's your secretary, I'm so sorry. It's just Evelyn hasn't been the same since she lost her job, and Lydia was giving me sultry looks from the day I hired her. You were you were away, I was drunk, one thing led to another. But she's more than just a pretty girl, Anton. She's smart and kind. I think we really connected. She's a spy, Peter, for fuck's sake. I could do that. Doesn't mean I'd break my vows and risk a scandal for a bit of horizontal polo. I know, but we're ending things. I told her it's too unprofessional, and I want Evelyn back. I ought to have you both fired. Anton, please, I'm begging you. There was an edge of desperation in Peter's voice. He took another drink. How many years have we known each other? How many scrapes have we gotten ourselves out of? I can handle this myself. Just trust me and don't bring anyone else into this. I turned my face to my friend and vice president. The habits that had gotten him dubbed the bad boy of Swedish politics we were young were no longer so charming coming from a middle-aged man. Yet he was still a capable politician, and I couldn't ignore our long history together. Ah, he's a drunk idiot that's sleeping with a spy. Uh, yeah, fix this or you're fired. Yes, Anton, I understand. Thank you so much. Yeah, don't mention it. Without waiting for his reaction, I left the rooftop alone and made my way downstairs. On my way out, I grabbed my belongings and took my last look back at the office. I had been home to some happy memories for sure, but this visit had permanently cured me of any nostalgia. As soon as I arrived home, I headed up to my study, sat down, and stared at the telephone. Sure, let's call Evelyn. Uh, no, I meant to call Evelyn, not Lucian, for fuck's sake. He picked up very quickly. Yes, Mr. President, I told Lucian everything Peter had told me about himself, Evelyn, and Livia. Thank you for calling me, Mr. President. This serves to confirm some suspicions of my own. We have to meet. What suspicions? Again? I'd rather discuss this in person tomorrow morning in your office early before either of the two arrive. Don't bring this up with anyone else. I fear we may have more than the mere dalliance in our hands. The line dropped. I stared at the receiver, wondering what his last statement meant. What was going on that I didn't know about? I went to bed but couldn't sleep at all. Yeah, what's going on is that Livia is a fucking spy. CSP condemns submarine attack on a cargo ship. National Business Council warns of excessive spending. Yeah. Not much I can do now, is it? Governor Braun continues resettlement policies. Let's meet with Lucian. It was early in the morning. After my walk with Peter, the sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon. The Maroon Palace was empty save for a few cleaning staff. I entered my office to find Lucian already waiting for me. Mr. President, thank you for meeting me at this hour. I couldn't sleep anyway. Very well, I'm pleased that you chose to call me after your conversation with Mr. Vector last night, although I was already aware of this illicit relationship with Miss Suno. I figured as much. You do know everything that goes on in the palace, after all. Lucian smiled. On its own, given Mr. Vector's established reputation as something of a playboy, the affair is unlikely to cause much damage. However, a more troubling possibility has been brought to light. A recent conversation with Mr. Hailstone, our whistleblower from Runeberg, revealed the presence of a spy within the Moon Palace. I believe Miss Suno is our mole. She has been using her relationship with Mr. Vector to gather information. Tell me more. I can do better than that. I'll show you. Lucian reached into his coat pocket, pulled out an audio tape, and fed it into the reel-to-reel machine on my desk. Here's the thing. We know for a fact she's a spy, but Lucian and his little tapes are not exactly the most trustworthy of instruments, are they? This was recorded in the palace at 1809 on the second day of your trade visit to Lesbia. He pressed play. I heard Peter and Lydia's voices. You're sure everyone's gone for today? Relax, Liv. Nobody's working that hard with Anton off in Lesbia. Lydia giggled. I heard the sound of kissing, then of drinks being poured. Glad you stayed behind. Did he tell you how it's going over there? Do you think there's a chance they'll form an alliance? No, it doesn't seem like it. We'll have to find other alternatives if we're going to keep Romberg at bay. It seems like we've still got a shot with the superpowers at least. We've opened 2 new lines of communication with Ventry City and Kyo. Just exploratory talks at this point, but they might lead to something deeper. And speaking of something deeper, Miss Suno... Fuck's sake, better. Lucian grimaced and switched the tape off. This is indeed cause for... I think we can imply what the fuck happened. This is indeed cause for concern. I'm glad you agree. And that's not all. I found her resume on file, and there's a year-long gap between her finishing secretarial school and beginning her career. Normally this would have been looked into, but Miss Suno was hired before a background check could be completed by one Peter Vector. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Olivia opened it cautiously. Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Galat. Didn't realize you'd be in so early. Can I get you some coffee? Yeah, coffee would be great, actually. Yeah, just play it cool. The spy doesn't need to know we know. Olivia left to make coffee. A few minutes later, she came back and served the coffee. Please have a seat, Miss Suno. Olivia sat. She looked puzzled. Is something the matter? Enough pretending. Your secret is out. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Lucian, probably best to have done this after a full investigation, with the authorities, but sure, you know perfectly well. Game? Hello? Game? Olivia buried her face in her hands. I'm sorry, Mr. President. I was foolish and Peter were so nice to me, but it's over now. Nobody even needs to know. That's not what the President means, Miss Suno. We're referring to you being an intelligence agent for Rumberg. Olivia sat upright. She looked shocked. Pardon me, Mr. Galad, but are you feeling all right? He's fine. What do you have to say for yourself? Mr. President, I understand if you don't want me to keep my job, but why smear me with outlandish accusations? Masuno, indulge me for a moment. What were you doing in the year 1951? Olivia's face flushed. If you must know, I was working as a cigarette girl at Porto's. It's a Latchaven saloon. I was saving up so I could afford my own place in Polsword. Here's the proprietor's number if you need to double check. We will be double checking. She scribbled a telephone number on a piece of paper. Lucian snatched it up. Why were you asking Petter about my alliances? Tell the truth, Mr. Rain, I was hoping to run for office myself someday. I want to make a real difference in the world like Mr. Morgno or Miss Walda. But I guess I messed it up by getting involved with Petter, but now they're all just going to say I slept my way to the top. Wait, how did you know about that conversation? There was a loud pounding on the door. Petter barged in without waiting for an answer. He was unshaven and wore the same clothes as the night before. Fuck's sake. Came as soon as I heard the three of you were in here. Anton, what the hell are you doing? I told you I had this under control. Clearly. Sit down and shut the fuck up, Petter. Petter took a seat on the far end of the sofa. He looked over at Livia and noticed her troubled expression. God, why involve her? This is my mess. She did nothing wrong. She's a spy, Petter. You messed up big time. I what? Yes. Indeed. I have reason to believe she's been relaying information to Rumburg, information that you leaked to her in your carelessness. Lucian rewound his tape and played it again. As Petter listened, his eyes widened in disbelief. Lucian, you rat bastard, you've been bugging my office? I'm sure there's an explanation for this. The explanation being that Lucian is a rat bastard. But in this case, he happens to be right. Both Petter and Livia were glaring at Lucian now. He looked unrepentant. I had noticed the Vice President's behavior becoming increasingly erratic and unprofessional over the past months. I wanted to get to the root of the cause, so you wiretapped your own goddamn colleague, and for what? Have you been getting off on this, you pervert? Certainly not. I believe that, along with the Rumburg whistleblower's admission that there is a spy in the palace, and certain gaps in Miss Suno's resume, the state makes compelling case to investigate the Secretary for Espionage. Whether or not the investigation yields positive results, Mr. Vector ought to be held accountable for his willingness to divulge such sensitive information. He ought to stand trial or at the very least resign. I agree. Petter's jaw dropped. Livia stood up. If I may, Mr. President, I've been paying attention to what goes on in this palace, not because I'm some sort of agent, but out of genuine interest. I've heard as that may, hard as that may be for you to believe, Mr. Galad. She scowled at Lucian, then turned back to me. And from what I've seen, this man has been attempting to undermine your vice president at every turn, perhaps with the goal of replacing Petter himself. Yes, I know that's his goal. To be honest, he'll probably do a better job. And he'll probably try to backstab me to get to the presidency. But I trust him more than I trust you. And I only trust him as far as I can throw him. Sure, that's nonsense. That does make a lot of sense, but let's say Lucian's been nothing but loyal. So far. Loyal to you, it's true he never could stand me. Lucian frowned. My personal misgiving about Mr. Vector aside, I would never do anything to harm this administration. Now we know that's a lie. Mr. Vector, on the other hand, has at best committed adultery and at worst delivers state secrets straight into enemy hands. Who could I believe? Yeah, Peter Olivia, get the fuck out of my sight. Out, Peter and Olivia exchange worried glances before exiting my office. What are you going to do, Mr. President? Arrest her, make Peter resign. I believe you should investigate Olivia. Lucian breathed a sigh of relief. I appreciate your trust in me. And Mr. Vector, what will do about his willingness to compromise Starling's security at the drop of a pencil skirt? Politely ask him to get the fuck out of my sight on a permanent basis. Yeah, I'll decide that once we have the results. Very well. Just keep in mind you may need him to shoulder the blame for this. Lucian adjusted his tie. I'll apologize to Miss Suno and told her this has all been a misunderstanding. We can't have her running away during the investigation. Yeah, no, I'll do it myself. She's too suspicious of you. Very well, sir. Lucian gave a side bow as he left the office. I sat by myself for a while, wondering what exactly I had set into motion. Let's see how this pans out for us. But that will be left for next episode. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, I have been Hope. Please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all next time.